Assertions of dignity. Under these circumstances and in such an environment, only two traits of character easily developed in the people of Arabia. 1. The development of the art of poetry, for which they had a great deal of leisure time at their disposal, passing nights in the open desert, and they were free of any disciplined stream of thought. Both of these states served as great stimuli. Second, the tremendous effort to survive and the subjection to a life of hardship made them extremely fond of fighting and tests of strength. Constant mutual combat led them naturally to self-praise and a growing discretion for exhibiting a sense of dignity. Pride and boasting, two typical qualities of man, led to bravery and generosity, defining distinct roles which they followed with great interest. Idleness and deep indulgence in poetic composition turned them to lovemaking and drinking. But bravery and boldness had made them hospitable to a high degree and firm in fulfilling their promise as a matter of honor. Gambling, archery, assemblies for the recital of poetic verses, assertions of dignity, and competitions were some of the means of passing their time. In short, Arabia and its climate conditioned the Arab character. Hud and Salih and several other prophets were sent to the Arab Bid'ah. But the disrespect and disobedience shown to these prophets resulted in their utter and total destruction. Some prophets were also sent to another sections of the Arabs, the Cotton Arabs, but they paid very little attention to their call, with the result that they met their doom time and again. Moreover, they could not profit substantially from the teachings of their prophets on account of their rebellious attitude and undisciplined thinking. Some of the people of Arabia believed in Ibrahim and Ismail. In the sphere of faith and religion, their genealogical pride and egotism and the glorification of their ancestors led them to hero worship, which ultimately paved the way to carving idols in their names to be worshipped. Idol worship led them to superstitions and many other irrational ideas. When the Cotton tribes were on the decline and Banu Ismail, the Adnan tribes, had gained ground, the invasion of Makkah by the Khuzā tribe resulted in the defeat of the Jurhum tribe. The integrity of the Adnan tribes was violated by this defeat, and it injured the power and dignity of the emerging Banu Ismail in the Hijaz. It resulted in a fierce rivalry between the Adnan and Cotton tribes, which gave birth to small clans which were unable to transform themselves into a united rule of significant importance. The larger domains were not much better than anarchy. No Arabian king and his system of rule over his subjects was as remarkable for law and order as that of the ordinary feudal system used in Persia. This anarchy and unbridled freedom gave rise to untold immorality, misbehavior, and disrespectful rudeness which permeated the whole social life of the Arabs, and this human depravity continued until the light of Islam rose from the dark horizon of this country. Most of the Arabs were nomads, and very few had settled permanently in townships and populated areas. The Arabs were very fond of keeping an exact genealogy of their ancestors preserved by memory. They would mention the names and deeds of their forefathers with pride, and thus animate zeal and the valor of their people during fighting. Perhaps it was the impact of the climatic conditions of the country or their fondness for genealogy that caused the Arabs to have a very strong memory. It was something simple for them to keep in memory accurately odes of tribute that were several hundred verses long, after hearing them only once. Their art of poetry and command of language led them to such a state of development that they named all the non-Arabs as Ajam, literally, mute. If an individual of one clan was killed by that of another, the clan belonging to the dead person would not rest until they took revenge. To be at rest without an act of retaliation was a matter of utter shame and disgrace for them. Reverence for the Kaaba and performing Hajj was a sign of power for all the Arabs through all their generations. Helping the helpless and the oppressed and keeping firm against the oppressors were qualities appreciated by one and all. Timidity and miserliness were taken as the greatest defects and the worst flaw of character. Months of peace. They fixed one or several months of the year when they considered fighting as unlawful. During this span of peace and order all fighting was suspended. And during those specific days they would visit the Kaaba and perform the Hajj. It was during these days that large commercial fairs were held with poetic recitals, and they offered great opportunities for making new trading contacts. Some other traits of the Arabs are also worthy of notice. Faith and religion. Before the appearance of Islam, the Arabs were passing through a state where some of their tribes acknowledged neither the Creator nor reward and punishment, while others were convinced of the existence of the Creator but not of reward and punishment and the Day of Judgment. Mostly they worshipped idols and stars, some of them worshipped fire also. They had transformed the Kaaba into a center of idolatry and kept 360 idols inside the Kaaba. Jews had also come from Syria to settle in Al-Madinah, Yathrib at that time, and in its suburbs. They began to arrive there from a short time after the death of Musa. Among those Jews, Banu Qurayza, Banu Nadir, and Banu Kanuka were the most renowned. Some Christians also settled in the Ghassan and Najran area, and some people of Tsuza tribe had also converted to Christianity. Idolatry. Idolatry was openly practiced all over Arabia. 400 years before the advent of Muhammad in era of King Shapur of Persia, Amr bin Luhai bin Harithah bin Imra ul-Qais bin Saba bin Mazin bin Azd bin Kahlan bin Bablion bin Saba, the king of Hijaz, was the first to install the idol named Hubal at the top of the Kaaba and placed two idols Isaf and Naila at the well of Zamzam and persuaded the people to worship them. This Amr bin Luhai had totally rejected the concept of the Day of Judgment. Yagath, Ya'uk, Nasr, Wad and Suwa were adopted by different tribes, for each of them had its separate idol. Wad was carved in the shape of man, while Naila and Suwa were in the form of a woman. Yagath had the shape of a lion, Ya'uk of horse, and Nasr of vulture. Some tribes shared idols. Tazim and Judais had a common idol. The Kalb tribe worshipped Wad, whose center was Dumatul Jandal. Banu Tamim adored Tame. Suwa was worshipped by the Hudhail, Mudaj, and the Yemenite tribes worshipped Yagath. Dilkala worshipped Nasr at Himyar, the Hamdan worshipped Ya'uk, Banu. Mughith of Banu Thaqif tribe served as the guards of Lat at Taif. The Quraysh and Banu Kanana worshipped Uzza, while Banu Shaiba were the caretakers of Uzza. Manet was adored by the Aus and Khazraj tribes, Jihar by Banu Hawazin, Awai by the Bakr and Taglib, Maharak by Banu Bakr bin Wail, Saad by Banu Malkan, Sayr by Banu Anthara, Amianas by Banu Kahlan, Raza by Banu Tai, and Tulkafain by the Das. Besides the idols mentioned, many idols like Jarish, Sharik, Aim, Mudan, Auf, and Manaf were very famous, and every one of them was the deity of one tribe or another. Whenever any congregation of idolaters was organized, and if an Arab was not able to attend it during the fixed days, he would fix a stone called Duwar and go around it like the Kaaba to compensate for missing the congregation. In Arabia, there were other centers of idolatry besides the Kaaba. Ghatfan had constructed a house similar to the Kaaba and called it Kailas, and they even performed Hajj there. Banu Qatham had also built a house calling it Tul-Qalasa to perform Hnjj there. Tul-Qabat was the center for worship of the Rabi'ah. There was a tribal temple in Najran also, which was built with 300 skins and was called the Kaaba of Najran. The idolaters of Arabia would visit it as they did with the Kaaba. Moreover, they had also built a haram, sanctuary, around it where even a murderer or assassin was safe. On the top of the Kaaba there was another idol called Shams. Pictures of Ibrahim, Ismail, Isa, Jesus, and Maryam, Mary, were also worshipped in the Kaaba. Sacrifice. The idolaters, when coming to perform Hajj, brought camels for sacrificing and offering to their idols. They had a practice to suspend shoes from the necks of the camels and mark them to signify them as sacrificial animals. Nobody would then get in the way of the animals. Moreover, the calves of the camels and sheep and other animals were sacrificed to the idols. Some of the tribes even sacrificed humans to the idols. According to some historians, the idolaters of Arabia believed in the oneness of God and acknowledged Him as one. They worshipped idols because they believed that they will intercede with Allah for them. Some of the tribes entertained the belief that the person on whose grave a she-camel was sacrificed, will on the Day of Judgment, rise from his grave mounted on his she-camel. This belief indicates that they believed in Day of Resurrection and some form of judgment.